Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Rita, and today I'll be reading for you Genesis chapter 11, part 3. Chapter 11. All the people spoke the same language because they were all Noah's descendants. They all wanted to live together. They were proud. They wanted to be more powerful, so they built a great city. But God had not told people to live together. He told them to move across the world so that the whole world would have an inhabitants, so the people were not obeying God's commands. In fact, they were trying to oppose God. God did not allow them to continue the construction of that city. He confused their languages, and he ended their unity. They could not talk with each other, so they had to move to different places. The chapter continues with the story of Shem's family. People's lives began to be shorter now. At last, the writer mentions Abraham. Abraham was different from other people because Abraham believed God. This fact may not seem important when we have discussed the history of the whole world. But for the writer of the book of Genesis, this fact was trivial. The book of Genesis always concentrates on the lives of people who please God. Already we have read about Abel, Enoch, and Noah, and Abraham would join the list of men who pleased God. Their lives and a vast effort on the relationship between people and God. God said that the people in the world will receive a blessing by means of Abraham. Notes on the verse. Verse 2. People moved to the east, or that may mean in the east. Earlier, the Lord sent Cain away, and then Cain too went towards the east. Verse 3. Bitumen is a black stuff that people get from the ground. At that time, people started to use it like cement. They stuck bricks together with it. Today, people use it as a surface for roads. Verse 4. The people did not ask what the Lord wanted. They wanted to build for themselves. They were not building the city in order to bring honor to God. They wanted to be famous themselves. God makes new languages and he scatters people. Verse 5. The Lord showed how great he is. People thought they could reach up to the sky. They thought that God was in the sky. But God came down to the earth to see their tower. When we compare the tower with God, it was very small, and it was not very important because God is so great. It is God who makes people great. We cannot make ourselves great in God's opinion. People think that they are great and powerful, but God is much in control. He confessed their language and he scattered them. So he stopped the people before they could become more evil. He stopped them before they can make more trouble. The writer has told the story about the tower and Babel. It's very easy language. He uses many words that sound like other words. Some parts of God's reply sound like every the other people's speech, but God's reply means something very different. After Adam and Eve had sinned, they could not talk with God as easily before. Now people could not talk to each other easily. Verse 9. Babel means confessed. Shem's family. Abraham's ancestors. The history of Shem's family. People exact ages here are not clear, but that is not very important. This history of Shem's family may not be complete. Some people may have grandsons rather than sons. Again, it is important to see that this is a story about real people. We cannot compare it with the account about Adam's family. we can see that the people in Shem's family were younger when they had children, and they did not live as long. In Genesis 6:3, God said that He would place a limit on length of people's lives. In verse 26, Abraham, Noah, and Haran were born at different times. Here, the story about Abraham begins. Abraham was the father of the family that God chose specially. Abraham's brother was called Haran, and also the place where Terah stayed to live was called Haran. Genesis 11:27 to 12:9. These verses are very important. They show how God was making His plan happen for people. He chose Abraham's family as His special family. Then He chose the nation of the Jews. Then He did something special for all nations. God was a friend to Abraham, and God made special promises to Abraham and his family. Here we also read about the country that the Lord promised to Abraham. Verse 27. Haran was probably Terah's oldest son. It seems that Abraham was looking after a lot. Verse 29. Sarah was Abraham's half-sister. In other words, Sarah and Abraham had the same father, Terah. But Sarah's mother was not Abram's mother. Later, God forbade men to marry a half-sister. Noah married his brother's daughter. God never forbade that. Verse 30. At that time, if a woman had no children, she was very sad, as sometimes people thought that the woman should be ashamed because of that. God sometimes made women be without children because they had sinned. However, there are also several women like Sarah, Hannah, and Elizabeth in the Bible. They did not have any children for a long time, but God blessed them. Verse 32. Abraham probably left Haran for many years before Terah did. Terah was not a part of God's plan for Abraham and his descendants. For that reason, the writer tells us that Aaron died in Haran. Thank you for watching. Finally, that was the end of chapter 11. Thank you for watching.